Coming up to our next topic, number 5, the Patriots wait. They don't trade up, and they end up taking Mac Jones at 15. And I've actually heard from some analysts that if they had a choice between Jones and Fields at 15, the Patriots might have still have taken Mac Jones. Now, I wouldn't have. I would take Fields. I think Fields is the better player. But there's all these arguments about how Jones is the better fit in New England just because of the type of offense they run. It's a quicker, get the ball out quickly type of offense, where Fields tends to drop back, hold the ball a little bit longer because he's so strong and he can stand in the pocket almost like a Roethlisberger. Brandon, what do you think about, the fact that Fields might be the better fit for the Patriots?
Well, Mac Jones, you mean?
I'm sorry, Mac Jones, yes. I'm still wishing that Fields was with the Pats, but Mac Jones.
No, I think you're right there. I think Fields would have been the better fit for a Josh McDaniels offense, where you can have a guy that does anything and he does it at a high level. It's the one thing where Mac Jones, can he get outside the pocket? Can he move the pocket? Can he get away from the rush? That's really the big question with Mac Jones that Fields has over the top of him. Fields is mobile. Fields can escape the rush. Fields can move the pocket and throw on the run. So I just think if we're going to pick between Fields and Mac Jones, I've got to go with Fields. And if we're going to pick even Fields over Zach Wilson, and I'm shocked that the Jets didn't do that. And I talked about it on this show. I just feel like, I think Zach Wilson's going to crumble underneath the big lights of New York City and the media. And I think, Justin Fields was ready to go to that big time, big media place, a big package, a big city underneath the lights coming out of Ohio State. He also played at Georgia, like I just mentioned before. I just think Fields was just ready, and I think he's the more NFL-ready player, and I think his upside is a lot bigger than Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. And I hope Mac Jones proves me wrong, and that was one of the things I was saying immediately. I think the Patriots got the guy they wanted. They didn't have to move up to get him, so they said, hey, if Fields drops to us, we'll take him over Jones or we'll take Jones, but we're not going to move up. And I think they just made that decision. We're not going to move up. We're going to make our pick at 15th, and whoever's the best player available on the board at that time, that's who we're going to go with. And I do agree, at the time it was Mac Jones was the best available player at that time, 15th overall. Jalen Waddle was off the board. Devontae Smith was off the board. Fields was off the board. Those were all guys that I was looking for the Patriots to target, but they were all gone at that point. So I have no problem with them bringing in Mac Jones at this point. But my question is, I just have to question his upside. I think he might have hit his ceiling at Alabama, and it's arguable. Can he push that ceiling in the NFL and develop to the next level with some NFL coaching? And it's one of those things where Bill Belichick loves Alabama players. He's taking 22 Alabama players in the draft since he's been a head coach. That's the most of any coach with any other team in football and in the draft era. So it just proves that he loves Nick Saban's players. Obviously, everybody knows Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are best friends, have a great relationship on and off the field, and really speak highly of each other. And so obviously if Nick Saban says, hey, this is your guy, Bill Belichick's probably going to say, hey, this is my guy, then I'm going to go with it. But it's one of those things where I just think all those other players had arguably a higher ceiling than Mac Jones. So I would have liked to see the Patriots make a move to get them. But I really want to see what Mac Jones can do once he does get on the field. And arguably, we know it's going to be not this season. And I think people are saying, hey, maybe it should be this season. If the Patriots are falling into a season like last year, sure. But I think we've already said before the draft, we think this is a better team from the moves they've made in free agency. So I think if you go with Cam Newton and you give Cam Newton the reins here with these new weapons, then I think we have a good chance of making the playoffs. But hey, if it comes that we're in the back half of the season and we're looking like crap and we're not going to make the playoffs, I would say, yeah, put Mac Jones in, because we've obviously spent the 15th pick and I want to see what we really got. And if I'm right and if there is upside there. But if there is upside there and Bill Belichick's right, then, hey, maybe we got our quarterback for the next 6 to 10 years. But if not, then it's, we're going to have to go back in the draft in these upcoming years to possibly get another quarterback. So I just think it's questionable. And it's one of those things where hey, we've said this for every draft pick, right? They're all questionable. Only time will tell, was it worth it for this guy in the first round? But yeah, the Patriots got the guy that was, high on their board, and I think they're happy with who they got.
Hey guys, it's producer Ben. I called in the calling number.
Producer Ben, what's happening, my buddy?
Hey guys, I just wanted to say about this whole Mac thing is I know before we were thinking Jayson Stidham, maybe he was kind of the guy waiting in the wings. Cam Newton was ready to play. I mean, all of the free agents who have been coming here thought they were going to play for Cam Newton. So at the same time, when I listen to EEI on the radio, a lot of those guys are saying that Mac is the guy of, like, not just of the future, but he's the guy now. They're talking like he's going to start in week 1. So I know we missed out on Justin Fields. I agree we should have got him, but can you talk a little bit about what's going to happen with Mac Jones this season? Like, is he actually have a chance at starting game 1?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I think there is a chance. I think Cam Newton's going to be better this year. Just because, he's coming off a shoulder surgery last year. He had COVID. He was with a new team, get a shortened offseason. I think Cam's going to be much better this year. But there's a couple of things here. One, if Cam and Mac Jones are playing the same coming into week 1, I think they're playing Mac Jones because there's higher upside there. And you've invested the 15th overall pick, and he's a cheaper contract, and he's the guy the following year. So Cam's going to be a free agent after this year. So I think if they're playing the same, then I think Mac Jones is your guy. I think Jones is going to start week 7, week 8. We'll see where the bye week is. I can't remember if the schedule's even out yet. The schedule's not even out yet, so we don't know when the bye week is. If the bye week's in the middle of the season, that's when I could see Mac Jones actually starting. I think that makes more sense. I think when they start the season, it's going to be Cam. And I think they're going to be better. They have the 2 tight ends that are outstanding. They have improvements at the wide receiver position, not from the draft. We'll talk about that in a bit. But from free agency, the defense is going to be better. So I think there's a couple of things here. One, Mac Jones doesn't turn the ball over. And I know he hasn't played against, his team was so good around him that there weren't a lot of turnovers. If you go back and watch Mac Jones's throws, and a lot of analysts have talked about this, even though he's throwing to guys that are relatively open because it's Waddle and Smith and a few other players, Najee Harris out of the backfield, he's putting that ball right on the money. It's not like those guys are like waiting for the throw or reaching back. I mean, he's putting the ball on the money. The timing is perfect, okay? So if the Patriots, they scheme up a lot on offense, if he can kind of steer the Ferrari in the right direction, we talk about F1 all the time, as long as he can steer that Mercedes car, around Monaco, as efficiently as possible, it kind of doesn't matter that he can't throw the ball downfield, which is kind of a misnomer. The one thing I wanted to say about Mac Jones, we talked about before with the 40-yard dash of Michael Vick. Jones ran a 4.72. It's not like he's running a 5.2 or Tom Brady, I think, ran a 5.1 or something like that. He's not slow. He's not Drew Bledsoe. He's not Brady. He's not some of these other guys. I can't remember what Matt Ryan's 40 time is, but if Mac Jones turns into Matt Ryan, then you've got a good pick at 15. I mean, Matt Ryan was the MVP, probably should have won the Super Bowl, if not for the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. So if he turns into Matt Ryan, you've got a quarterback on your hands here. So as far as him and Cam together and when he's going to start over Cam, it's going to take time. There's a chance he could start week 1, but I think it's Cam Newton and then maybe mid-season, depending on how the offense is performing. Also, if the defense is really performing well, the team can probably withstand a quarterback change. If you're winning 13-7, if you're winning 17-13, and you think your offense needs some juice, we saw that with the 49ers with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith, and we might see the same thing with Mac Jones and Cam Newton. Completely different types of quarterback situations as far as style and how they run the offense, but bringing the rookie in or bringing the young guy in to give the offense a little bit of juice to make a playoff push, I could see that happening with the Patriots.
Well, producer Ben, I'll answer your question a little bit too, and we can, when you're ready, we'll move on to topic number 6 too, because it's all tied in here with the Patriots. You can even keep playing the Mac Jones videos, but my thing about Mac Jones is look at the guys he was throwing to, Pat. I think you could have thrown to those guys. Honestly, 5 first-round picks. We've got Jerry Jeudy. We've got Ruggs. We've got Waddle. We've got Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. All 4 of those wide receivers, first-round picks. Then you can throw in Najee Harris, first-round pick to the Steelers. So and trust me, if you give me and you say that Mac Jones is going to be Matt Ryan, then I'm sold. Like you said, I'm sold. I think it will have been worth it. I would be all over. I'll sign off on that right now. It's just I question if that's even possible with Mac Jones. And it's one of those things where I just think, like I said, don't get me wrong. I think he is going to be a serviceable NFL quarterback, and I think he is going to be the starting quarterback of the Patriots. But I don't think it's going to happen until year 2. That's all my point is. I think you have to go with Cam Newton this first year. Let Mac Jones learn the system, learn under Bill Belichick, learn under Josh McDaniels. Let him pick Cam Newton's brain a little bit. Obviously, Cam Newton's not going to want to help him, but he can still look and watch and learn. Cam Newton is obviously a former MVP himself. So I still think there is some things that Mac Jones could learn before you turn over the reins of the franchise. And you are definitely going to turn over the reins of the franchise to this kid. But I don't know. I think, like producer Ben said, I think a lot of these free agents were coming in planning to play with Cam Newton. And a lot of them have even brought it up and specifically saying how they came here to play with Cam Newton. So I think it's one of those things where I think they'd be better off to just go with Cam first. But don't get me wrong. If the ship is sinking and we're not even looking like a playoff team, I think you have to. You have to put Mac Jones in, and you have to see what you got 15th overall because you've invested so much in this guy going forward. But I just like my one thing is just his upside with playing with such great talent at Alabama. And obviously, I mean, your argument for that would be, hey, the NFL talent is just as good as all the talent at Alabama. So, I mean, he is going to be playing with talented players with the Patriots as well. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope Mac Jones turns into a stud and turns into a Matt Ryan. I just have to question it. But my question for you, Pat, would be if the Patriots are showing that they're a playoff team with Cam Newton running the squad, and even if the offense is a little tight there and we're winning tight games and our defense is doing the thing, you would go ahead and move on, say like we're going into the playoffs, and I'm trying to think of maybe you just secured your playoff spot. Let's just say that. You just secured your playoff spot, maybe 3 or 4 games left. You would go ahead and put Mac Jones in?
It depends on how the team's looking, and sometimes it's not a numbers thing. It just depends on the feel, and it depends on how the offense is flowing. 2019, Brady was still there, and they were still winning games. The defense looked awesome, but the offense just didn't look right. And that wasn't the quarterback's fault. It was personnel altogether. But I think, it just depends on how the team looks, and that's probably a cop-out, but, you could be a playoff team, but like I said, with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick back in, 2012 when they went to the Super Bowl, they were, I think, number 1 in the NFC or number 2 in the NFC. They were going to be a playoff team. They got a good defense. They had Vernon Davis. I think they had Michael Crabtree at the time at wideout, and a few other players. They had a good team, good offensive line. But, Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, who was the coach at the time, felt like they needed a spark. And that's what they got out of Kaepernick. So if the Patriots, who they might secure a playoff spot, but feel like the offense just isn't right, isn't where they want it to be to make any kind of playoff run, they might put Jones in there. Now, Cam Newton might not be, setting the world on fire with the offense. And if Mac Jones isn't setting the world on fire with the offense, and they don't think he's ready at that time either, they're not going to put him in. So you have to have the best of both worlds. Cam, not quite doing what they need him to do, and Mac Jones being ready to go. That's the decision Belichick and McDaniels have to wait. I got 2 more points on Mac Jones. I know we're crushing this topic, but I think it's so interesting. Number 1, when you talk about talent around him and that the fact that he's throwing these great receivers, I totally get it. But this didn't seem to be a problem when Joe Burrow was the number 1 pick last year, when he was throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Right, and who's a great receiving back out of the backfield, right? Not quite the players that Jones has been throwing to, but very comparable, right? So that's one thing. The other thing, too, with Mac Jones, too, is, with Cam, the reason why I don't think Jones is going to start till mid-season at best is that the Patriots did bring in all these massive offensive pieces into this team. The 2 tight ends, the 2 receivers. They have to learn the system, right? you can't just bring in a rookie to learn the system and to teach the system to the other 4 guys right away. Cam Newton's going to be the one that's going to teach the system to these guys. He's going to be the one running the offense early in camp because he already knows the system. He didn't run it well last year, but he knows it. And that's the thing. He's coming into this offseason with his head already in the playbook before the draft even started. He's going to be the one that's going to be able to explain to Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Kendrick Bourne, and Nelson Aguilar how this system works. So that's why I think he's going to start right away. And then mid-season, if it looks like Mac Jones is going to give the team a lift, he will. If not, I think Cam will take the team the rest of the way. So I think that's where Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, is going to have to figure out. Josh McDaniels, one of the best offensive coordinators over the last couple of decades, is also going to have to figure it out.
We're definitely going to see. And like I said, I mean, I'm a Patriots fan too. I hope the kid pans out. I hope he is
so
the next stud. Because I mean, I don't have to be looking for a quarterback. It's annoying to be doing that.